My name is Krystal Lockhart. My son is Lakota Lockhart, and his primary diagnosis is central congenital hypoventilation syndrome, or CCHS. I had a very typical pregnancy. None of the tests that we had done, we had all the basic testing done that you would have during a pregnancy, and everything came back as the doctor would expect. So we had no indications there were going to be any problems. Because of some health issues, I had a scheduled C-section. Wound up going into labor a couple days before that scheduled date. Right after he was delivered, I heard the nurse say, "Come on, baby, I need you to breathe. Come on, baby, I need you to breathe." And I'm wondering what's going on with my baby. And they brought him over to me so I could see him. I said hi, and then he was whisked off. They took me down to the neonatal intensive care unit and was trying to explain to me what he was hooked to and what was going on, that he was having trouble breathing, and they really didn't know why yet. So in the 68 days that he spent in the NICU, he would undergo MRIs, heart tests, probably more tests than I even know about, trying to figure out what was going on. He would breathe on his own a little bit and then just stop breathing completely. So he wound up being intubated most of the time. The doctor gives us a diagnosis, and she says she had a packet of papers with her, and I can remember her reading it off and basically saying, "We don't know what his life is going to look like. He may very well leave here on a ventilator and essentially be a vegetable." And I was trying to process what I had just been told, and then she left the room, and I remember taking a few deep breaths and then just falling apart. After he wound up getting a tracheostomy so that he could have his ventilator attached that way, a feeding tube so he could eat enough, we wound up being able to bring him home. I learned very quickly that I needed to know everything I could know about keeping him alive. And it was such a hard lesson to learn, because I had gone from normal pregnancy, normal birth, to there is nothing ever going to be normal again. With that said, it made me be a lot more confident in my abilities, that I could do more than I had ever thought possible. And resources were hard to come by. Not having a roadmap, I had no idea where I was supposed to go, who I was supposed to call. And finally, I started realizing there were resources out there, I just had to find them. And men and women handle things differently. So I handled things one way, processed things one way, had a certain outlook on things. My husband's was different. It wasn't wrong, it wasn't better than mine, it was just different. And I don't think early on that we understood we were processing things two different ways. I had plans for a caregiver and everything else, and all of that went by the wayside. And part of it was my own decision, that at that point I could either continue with my career or I could be his primary caregiver, not just his mom, but his caregiver. And I made that choice to do that. As Lakota has gotten older, some things have gotten easier. Some things haven't gotten worse, but they've gotten different. Because just like your neurotypical or normal child changes, so do your special kiddos. They're gonna change too. I had to learn to just take cues from him. There was no plan in place. Doctors can make all the care plans they want to, but it's ultimately your child that you need to go by. I've learned to ask questions. What can I do to help you get through this? What are you interested in? What are you feeling? And he's learned to also speak up at the doctor's office and tell them what he's feeling. And so it's become this journey where it's not just my journey to help him, it's now become our journey. Essentially, part of it is just that having a child with special needs is going to affect every part of your life. Your life is not over, it's just different. And the sooner you can embrace that, the better it's going to be. And one of the things I learned in the support group was that if you had this picture of what your pregnancy was going to be like, of what the childbirth was going to look like, of what having a newborn was going to look like, and that all gets washed out, there's a grieving process for that. And I've known of people that feel shame or guilt about that, and it's just something you have to go through. And the other part that I didn't know then and I know now is that you're going to have friends and family that just don't get it. There's nothing you can say that is going to make them understand what you're going through. And it's hard. And some of those people you just have to cut loose. Because if they can't at least attempt to understand what's going on in your life and be willing to be a part of your new life, then they just don't serve you anymore. And so the people that remained in my life were the ones that tried to understand. Maybe they still didn't get it, but they tried. And those were also the people that meant it when they said, "What can I do to help?" Didn't mean they had a clue about how to help, but they were at least truthfully asking, "Let me know what I can do." When you have a child with medical complexities, whether there's medical equipment involved, whether there's behavioral strategies you have to learn, no matter what makes up your kid's unique needs, you have to learn things that no typical parent will ever need to know. So that's the difference between the mom brain and the caregiver brain. I could list off all of his surgeries, but I can't tell you all of those the dates he reached those developmental milestones. So that kind of gives you a picture of the two different brains or trains of thought a mom has versus a caregiver has. But my primary role in my son's life is as his mother. First and foremost, I need to provide that relationship as mother and son, mother and child first. So I'm an absolute Christian. I am strong in my faith. I don't have the foggiest idea why God put all this together for us. One day I'll ask him. But in the meantime, we just keep going. Each morning we wake up and we keep going, whatever happens, knowing that I'm blessed and the people around me are blessed. I'm sure I heard this, somebody else probably said it, and I don't know who to give credit to, but when something happens during the day or at night when I'm not able to sleep, I think to myself, if this is the worst thing that happens to me today, it's going to be a good day. And that's how I keep going every day.